Friday, our favorite day of the week, Financial Friday, coming at you 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Me and my boys, Jeremiah, Glenn, what's good with y'all?
Another day living the dream. I heard that from somebody, and I'm thinking I'm gonna steal that. So just another day living the dream.
Hey, that's what it is, man. Success can be stolen.
Yup,
Hey, I
be
mean
cool.
that can be. That's how
Yeah,
it be, man. Anything interesting, this week for you guys?
Go ahead, G.
yeah. So yesterday was able to link up with some phenomenal individuals. Talk business. Casted some more vision. Got very clear on the next 30 days, as well as the next 6 months. And then today, after the live in a couple hours, I'm gonna be linking up with he's a friend, but he has a small business owner. Has his
Yeah.
1 year anniversary, so I'm gonna go out there, go network and support him. And yeah, man, it's good. It's good. Shaking hands and expanding things across the nation.
I was waiting for him to say kissing
I know.
babies.
I was
So
like, what, you don't kiss
I was
babies
like,
now?
go ahead, say kissing babies.
Nah, nah,
He's like, nah, I don't kiss babies. I shake them.
nah.
No,
If it ain't mine, I'm not kissing it.
I don't kiss other people's babies.
Respect. I don't either. I get it.
Nah. But good to see
No,
you.
man. All good. For myself, it was just some of the similar things. Obviously, yesterday got a chance to meet up with some good fam, have some good conversation, plan some things out. Looks like we're going to attack 2023 even deeper. And I'm super excited about today, man. I'm always excited for Fridays because there's so much information. You guys know how my brain goes. It's just like,
Hmm.
so let's get into it.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So, for those of you that don't know, a couple things. First off, everything that we talk about is strictly our opinions. Okay. So, don't run out and be like, Rico, Cam, and Glenn told me to not buy Microsoft, because they said it's going to tank. Ain't none of that here. Okay. Whatever you guys decide to do is off of your own research. We strictly just try and offer, information from our point of view, from our knowledge set, and things of that nature. Okay. Second thing is every week we do switch off. So last week was Jeremiah. This week is Glenn. And so that person picks three articles for us to talk about, for our quick little 30-minute allotment, just to hit you with the information. And then, the next week it'll be me. So Glenn was our person this week. Great articles he picked. Very excited about them. So Glenn, while I'm pulling up the first article, go ahead and, talk about why you chose it, bro.
Absolutely. To all of our listeners, our watchers, our rewatchers, happy to have y'all here. This particular article is the U.S. dollar losing its status as the king of currency. This has been a topic, regarding the U.S. dollar decreasing in value. Right. I think every day this week, like every time I open up either my phone or my
Mhm.
laptop, like the something about the U.S. dollar decreasing stood out. So I thought that this would be a very important topic in case there are folks that are kind of maybe living under a rock, and they're just not aware, right? They may not have may not be having these conversations. But I wanted to bring this conversation on this platform and have a conversation on this particular topic because this is a topic that, if true, right, if it continues to decrease, it could shift the direction of our economy, right?
Mhm.
It could have a significant global impact on how we do business around the nation. And so potentially, obviously we all have kids, right? And so
Yeah.
potentially impacting our kids and their kids, right? Even within their lifespan, could increase the demand for gold,
Mhm.
oil, and other commodities, right? I know Rico's a commodity guy, so when I read that, I was like, oh
We
yeah,
got
he's gonna
different
like this.
commodities.
But this particular article, man, like, obviously over the last 50 years, there's been talk about the death of the dollar. But here's the reality today, right? The dollar is weaker today than it was yesterday. It's
Thanks.
weaker today than it was last year, right? And so we spend money every single day, right? We spend the dollar every single day. So that was another reason why I thought it was important to actually have this conversation. And so in this article, as I was reading, something that stood out to me, and it was just like, not everybody, not every country, not every nation, right? They're okay with playing by the US rules.
Facts.
Right? Typically, we're always, the dominant one, and hey, you need to play by our rules or you don't play at all, right? And so I
You don't play at all.
yeah, so I think now the table is kind of shifting a little bit to where now the maybe the little guy who's not always been the bully now has the upper hand, or potentially have the upper hand. So, we talk, obviously Russia and China, they have been in the news a lot. And they want to call a halt to the US dollar, right? So what does that do for us in our economy? It obviously shifts a bit. Something that I didn't know until I read this article, it mentioned that, the prime minister from Malaysia back in 2019 had proposed an idea of like a common trading currency for East Asia.
Yeah.
And so, that was interesting. Obviously, there's been talks throughout the years, throughout the decades, as far as other countries maybe utilizing their local currency or not using the US dollar as much, right? And so what that does, obviously, for those countries is it increases their economy. And so, the kind of the last thing that I'll say, and then we can kind of unwrap it and pick it apart. Here's the thing. In this article, it says if the dollar continues to weaken, give other countries a future boast, right? And so, and it said emerging market, this was quoted, emerging market inflation rates may also fall as their own currency strengthens against the dollar. And so I'm gonna kind of leave it there. There's actually two quotes at the very bottom of the article. Definitely want to get your guys' take on that as well. But yeah, so that's why I chose this article. I thought it was a phenomenal topic. Obviously, there are certain people who are already having these conversations on their platforms.
Yeah.
Wanted to kind of reintroduce it as we close out the week.
Yeah, I mean, this is something. I mean, we talked about this yesterday, right? And it was funny when I got home. Me and Net started talking about it because Net was like, "Bruh, like with India, and then Brazil." There's just, a lot of people forget that China had like this 100-year plan. And, the art of war, the art of war was written there. So they had 100-year plan where they don't need to directly attack us. They're going to do all these chess pieces. Right. And I don't want to turn this into like a China's trying to get at America thing, but at the end of the day, every economy in the world wants their economy to be number one. All right. Mm-hmm. US always wants to be number one, all these other places. And unfortunately, we have just put ourselves in a position where we're no longer going to be number one. And there's no real way to fix it, unfortunately. And so that's why, we talk about these things, because the US dollar ain't going to be as strong as everyone thinks it is.
Right.
Yeah.
What you got, Rigo?
For me, it's like, what do they say? The rooster's coming home to roost, right? Like back to the hen house. We've sent out, I love America, obviously, but we've sent out a certain frequency and energy for a long time. We've bullied people for years. The 20th century, we owned it through sheer bullying. And I think that things just tend to happen to where, you can't do that any longer. I kind of I liken this to, if anybody that follows sports, it's like in the NBA, right? For years, obviously, America was so far above anybody else in basketball. And then in 2000, Puerto Rico beats America, and you're like, what the heck? And then they don't win anything, right? And so you start to see a shift. That's what's happening with everyone else. Everyone else is catching up. Thanks. And China's actually surpassed, because we owe them a mound of debt, trillions of dollars of debt. And the only reason they haven't called note is because they need us to actually engage, right? And we're actually integrated into their economy, vertically integrated into their economy. So they need us. That's why they wouldn't call note. But saying all that to be said, you started to see, and this is not, I'm not political or anything. I don't like either party. I think they're both horrible. But what I'll say is this. You started to see it. I think there was a poking at China. It's always been there, but there was a poking at China during the Trump administration where he, did what he did. He decided he was going to put tariffs on them and make it just extremely difficult for them to do business. And they took note of that, and they never let that go. No. And I think that what they started to do, they already had the plan, as you said, 100-year plan. They're literally strategists. They're some of the best strategists ever. So they've already had the plan, but what they enacted, I think they pushed it forward a little bit faster. And I believe that all this, because everywhere you go, China's at the bottom, right? They're intertwined, and every move With the petrodollar, with Saudi Arabia, China's pushing that. Going and making deals with Russia, China's in the middle. They're with that, right? Making moves with Brazil to strengthen them. They're in the middle. So it's like everywhere that you go, right? China's always there. And what it is they want to see the utter destruction of the U.S. dollar. They don't want to see the U.S. being the bully anymore. And they essentially want the U.S. to be humbled, to ask for help, to be like everyone else has been. And I know this sounds crazy. You're like, dude, you're talking madness. No, I'm talking reality. An empire is only going to be good for so long, right? You had two probably of the longest empires ever, and you can study this stuff. Just talking about money, finances, all this stuff. Egypt and Rome. And when they started to have the problems that we're having right now, there's nothing new under the sun. They started to have almost the exact same problems, right? Their currency started to be defaced. You spread yourself too thin, imperialism, issues started coming, right? And so I said all that to say, at the end of the day, the dollar, like you said, there's nothing to really fix it. Our economy, what we could do is take a step back, be humbled, and bet on everyone else's economy, bet on the euro, backwards short and, short basically on our own dollar, bet on the euro, bet on pounds, get involved with the petrodollar, bet on the yen, right? And so maybe that's the way we could do it, and maybe the economy can work out that way. But there's no way to prevent the dollar from being weakened. It's already happening.
Right.
And it's inevitable at this point. They played it, and it's checkmate. So that's how that is.
Mm-hmm. What a lot of people haven't realized too is so a lot of the debt that we owe China, they actually sold to our allies.
Yep.
Bro, it's money on top of money, baby.
but that's the thing. Even though they're our allies, don't forget we beat Great Britain in the Revolutionary War. People don't let go of that. There's a monarchy that's still there, that was there when we did that, right? It's the family, the descendants of those people. You think people really let that go? Like it's like your cousin, right? That beat your butt, when you were younger, and then you grow up and you get a little bit bigger, and you're like, I never really forgot that. And you just haul off and knock them out one day. You're like, hey, I never forgot that, right? And so that's kind of how it is. These people, our allies, never forgot. Germany's an ally, but we beat the crap out of them in World War I and II, totally destroyed their economy. So these are things, I know it sounds like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm just simply showing you what's playing out in front of us. That's it. Based upon follow the money. That's what we're saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Something I thought was something else I thought was interesting. It was saying the start of the millennium, like almost 3/4 of the global currency reserves were held in dollars. And then it said like today, that's fallen almost, to 59%, which is crazy.
It'd be like that. All right. So article number 2, I'm gonna pull up if you want to talk about why you chose this one.
Yeah. So a few years ago, 5-10 years ago, you used to always hear about Airbnb. Like everything was Airbnb. And so many people, have invested in Airbnb. We recently had a guest on our podcast who, was a real estate, who's in real estate, but previously had invested in Airbnb. People still today use Airbnb, right? And so even with that, I even have a good friend who just invested in some property. And one of the things they'll be using that property for Airbnb. So like I said, because it's been a very recent conversation, just kind of behind the scenes, I thought that this was an interesting topic because of, as you can see, the title itself, speaking about Airbnb. But with this here, right, the kind of transition into this, they talk about how stocks fell as much as 6%, right? Okay. Which is, it's about $109 a share right now. However, the last 12 months, it's down about 32%.
Whoo,
right?
That's not pretty.
No, not at all. So when it comes to stuff like this, I always be like, it kind of piques my interest, like the why behind, what's causing this. Like obviously, inflation is a huge, is a huge piece of that across the board. But a part of it was due to, they were saying like a lot of their top hosts built their own booking platforms.
Yep.
Right. And so now what they're doing is offering cheaper deals.
Yep.
So while this is why I like creating a space of innovation, right? Like on my teams, is because sometimes all you need is just that idea. You just need the teamwork. And then because there's so many smart people in the world, like someone's going to come and be a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this particular situation, how you had Airbnb hosts who have now, essentially taken the blueprint, especially because of during the pandemic, Airbnb, I think they increased some of their fees. I think it was like 17% or up to 17%.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, in this article, let me read this quote.
Oh.
It actually is down a little bit, but I wrote it down also. So I'll just kind of read it. It talked about owning the customer's relationship.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So owning the customer's relationship allows professional hosts to avoid Airbnb's 17% platform fee. Right. And so, control any refund and dispute process, communicate directly and seamless with customers, market aggressively for report business, and not be at the whim of Airbnb's algorithm. Right. And so that all stood out to me. So like I said, I thought that this would be pretty interesting because, again, this is Airbnbs are places that people stay in today.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our watchers are investors of Airbnbs, and so that was kind of my reasoning, my method behind why I chose this particular article.
I appreciate this because so this is actually something that Net and I talked about earlier. So remember I told you guys yesterday she sent me something where like about the rental leases and things like that. So it's actually a platform where they will market your Airbnb across all 6 vacation rental platforms. And they will give you a list of things that through market research people want in the Airbnbs. They will handle all the customer service, everything. And all they ask for is 10% fee for that. Now, that doesn't include the fees for the platforms, right? But it spreads you across all those things. And you don't pay unless you make money. And, but 17%, that's a grip, bro.
It is. That's almost a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, fact. And the thing is, that's why Airbnb is so expensive. That's why, like I've heard more and more about Vrbo. Like my mom told me that, the place that she's staying at in Italy, that's where she found it. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. I thought you got it on Airbnb. And she's like, nah, I went to Airbnb and it was hundreds of dollars more for the exact same thing on Vrbo because they probably charged the seller less money. I was just like, holy cow.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
Can't be greedy, bro.
You can't be greedy, man. I think that a lot of the Airbnb, you also have to look at the basis of the housing market, right? And then how that plays into the economy. And then the way that the economy, we just talked about the strength of the dollar. Look at anything that's retail related, luxury, hospitality, right? So Airbnb is considered, hospitality or that type of recreation, right? Because you have to travel and stuff like that. So as people start to hunker down and looking at the economy and they say, hey, I want to save my pennies because this and this and this is going on, you're going to see a significant drop in hotel usage. I won't say as large as you did, obviously, with COVID because it was mandated at that time. But yeah. I will say that you'll start to see voluntarily people not going on trips. And so you'll see a lot of the percentage fall off just based upon that, just with the economy. Anytime that you're looking to invest in anything when it comes to placing your money into something, right, like Airbnb or anything else, you have to sit and think about, is it recession proof? Yeah. Right. And now is it pandemic proof? Will your business continue to grow and can it continue to function and have vitality no matter what's going on? So Airbnb is one of those things. It's very stipulated upon people going out, people feeling confident that their money's they're gonna make more money, right? Feeling confident that the economy is strong. So it's even a mental thing, mixed in with people saying, oh, I'm just gonna do it on my own. I think a lot of it has to do with the economy.
I agree.
Facts. All right. So as I pull up the last article, Glenn, it's the gold, baby.
Gold, baby. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, this third article, actually it was inspired by Rico. Kind of sent it over a couple of days ago, and I thought it was kind of interesting, especially because we had talked about the strength or the devalue of the U.S. dollar. I know that gold is a topic when it comes to investors as well. So
yeah,
something that I kind of got away from the article itself, as far as as far as gold, investors have been. It talked about how investors have been, piling into gold, right, in anticipation of the Fed pivoting as the U.S. economy slows, right. So there's, there was I think the other day there was another article that the Fed, regarding the Fed and the interest rates, and so it also mentioned how like a weaker dollar and a drop in the 10-year Treasury yield are also signs of an expected ease in monetary like policy, which is helping like gold prices, right? So with the gold prices, if you could go to that graph real quick where it says gold prices near all-time high. So that graphic really stood out to me. Like, so in this graphic, so it displays, where gold was early 2000, right? And so you obviously, as folks watching this, you can kind of see where it was in the year 2000. And then today is saying it's been hovering over about $2,038 an ounce as of Wednesday, right? So, which kind of going back to August of 2020, the spread between that is just 2.5% away from reaching that high, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stood out to me because I remember talks, I think 10 years into the military is where I started hearing more people talk about like gold and buying gold and different things like that. And then a couple of years ago, when I jumped into the financial industry, I really started hearing more about it, right? And so as a kind of going back as a kid, one of the things that I had a vision of is like, hey, when I become an adult and I have a family, like all my kids, I want them to own a piece of a gold bar, right? So they put it in the safe, so like I said, so when I read this, that article stood out to me because it took me back to that childhood dream to now, walking towards living that reality, especially in today's economy.
I had to get some gold, man. It dipped a little. It dipped a couple months ago, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm a cop me." I think I probably got it right about. Yeah, September. I did, baby. It's interesting to see though is how it went super up in 2011,
right,
and then went all the way down here.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then and it's funny, like 2020, 2019 come around, and it's consolidating though, which you know what that means.
Time to split. Time to get more gold.
Rico,
no, I would say obviously you guys know I'm a commodity person. I've been screaming this for forever. Anything that's commodity based, it's never a bad thing, right? Make sure that you have some gold, silver, palladium, platinum, right? There's all the precious metals. Those are always great to have. They just have intrinsic value. They're never going to change, right? The dollar used to be based on the gold standard in '79. We decided that we're going to go away from the gold standard. The dollar's been weakening ever since.
Facts.
And that's something to think about. We're not on a gold standard, right? So the debt notes that we call money don't equally equate to a standard of gold as they used to. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, keep your gold. Go get the gold. get you a metal detector and find you some gold. It's this is the smart play long term. Being diversified, having you some metals is key, man. Man, I can't describe. I won't even go into because we don't have time to do so. But people really got to get intentional about what they're doing here. I mean, these articles, everything. Glenn just selected some wonderful articles. All of them point you in the right direction to get your stuff together. Yep. You don't have multiple chances in life, right? Mm-hmm. We had the pandemic. A lot of people weren't prepared. That's understandable. No, it was unprecedented. Never, right? Whatever. Got it. This is your second time around. And there's people warning you, and there's people telling you. So now it's kind of like, okay, do I listen or do I just, start whistling, walking down the street like nothing's happening? Because that's what we tend to see, right? Mm-hmm. But the people that know, and that's why the price is shooting up. You have big investors, hedge fund people I was reading about, huge millionaire, billionaire people that are buying the crap out of gold. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. And that's what you want to listen to. Where's the money? Where's the money going? Mm-hmm. Not the retail folks. You want to know where these tens, millions, hundreds, millions, billions of people or dollars, are being put into, because those are the things that they got the inside track to.
Those are the whales. That's what we call them in investing. You got those whales of people that just have tremendous amount of money where, you know, they purchase whatever they want. It doesn't matter. It means nothing, right? Loss means nothing, you know. So you want to look at the trends because they probably are privy to information, just like you said, Cam, that you don't have.
Yeah.
Right. They hear things in the wind and they say, hey, did you know that? Next thing you know, they're buying up a whole bunch. Okay, so I'm going to follow them.
Yeah.
Right. And this goes from whatever they're purchasing, metals. This goes from their behavior, right? The attributes and what they're investing in, how they diversify. Right. This is all the way around. You want to follow the people that are super rich, the people that make a whole bunch of money, right? Because I'm trying to figure out, how do you make your money? How did you do it? Because success leaves clues.
Right.
Oh, for sure, man. That's how it is, man. Maybe you watched Financial Friday and then you did some research and now you know. You ready to go.
You know.
By the way, Kim, I like that lighting over there, brother.
Man, I told him that.
I'm over here looking like a chocolate bar.
How professional does he look? That camera's just phenomenal. Look at him. He's got, you can see every pore and everything.
I love this thing.
Impressive.
That's how it be, man. But all right, well, unless you guys have anything, we're a couple minutes early, which is all okay because it's Friday. And
one last thing.
Okay.
How are you guys addressing this? We got about 4 minutes. How are you guys addressing everything that we just ran through? How are you guys personally addressing it with your family and your family members, your extended family? How are you guys dealing with them? What are you telling them?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna let Glenn go first. I gotta let the person in the house real quick.
For me, number one, just having a conversation. I think something that I wasn't doing years previously is like I would hear, like maybe come across this information, but it would just kind of like, okay, cool, I'll just keep it. Not so much intentionally that my family wouldn't see value in it, but it's just like that was a bad habit growing up that we weren't talking finances, we weren't talking what's going on in the economy, et cetera. So again, at a point in my life where I want my kids to have these conversations with their kids. So number one, just if I'm reading something, I'm pouring it into the family, right? And so I'm more intentional probably Thursday, Fridays in doing it because, like, obviously I'm reading on articles throughout the week for this particular platform. And so even before this, like, I go and I talk to Tegan, like, hey, babe, this is what we're gonna be talking about. Like, what are your thoughts? And I think what that does is obviously it introduces the conversation to where we can revisit. So now we're at the table as a family talking about it. And, again, I'm a firm believer that, education changes situations. So that's what I want. I want to make the change. And if I can be the catalyst in my family to do so, that's what I'm going to do. And sometimes it just requires you just to bring it up. Hey, what are your thoughts on SVP banking or whatever the case is. So that's what I'm doing over here.
Love it. What about you, Cam?
Man, I'm talking to everybody and anybody I can about everything. I was talking to my boss today, and he said, so I went out to DC a couple weeks ago, and I had talked to one of our senior guys, and he said, yeah, I just went out there. And he said, the first thing that dude told me, said, man, Cam was over here talking to me about finances and da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, that's Cam, bro. That's what he does. And so I'm trying to give as much information as I can out to people, to include my own family. Some of them listen, some of them don't. That's neither here nor there. Can't control. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as I feel like doing our due diligence to educate. But people will accept the information whenever they feel like it's ready for them. But I don't want anybody to ever feel like something held back from them by me. So I do what I can to educate, and then what I stand when people want more information.
I think that's phenomenal on both y'all parts, man. Just continue to give the information, give the value to people. That's obviously why we're here on this platform, is to provide the value to you guys, making sure that you're getting, a little bit of the knowledge. Maybe if you weren't privy to some of the information or you didn't see it, or like Glenn said, you might have been under a rock. We want to make sure that we pull you out from under that rock and put you put some information in your brain and give you a little game at the end of the week. So yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys answering the question. We're at our time. Appreciate it, guys.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. Another Friday. We will see you next week. Peace.
Appreciate y'all tuning in.